Hey guys, welcome to my first YouTube video. My name is Rima, and my name's Lithuanian, and you pronounce it Rima. Most people just think that my name's Rima or Rima, but it's not. And if you can roll your R, that's the right way to say it, but I usually just tell people it's Rima. So I have cystic fibrosis. I was born with it and diagnosed at 4 months old. Cystic fibrosis is a chronic lung disease that you're born with. It's not contagious. And so I started out just a normal kid, playing sports, catching frogs, all that fun stuff. And over time, my health got worse. In high school, I was able to run track and powder puff football and all that. And that's when my lungs started to get worse. And it was mostly stomach issues in the beginning, and then it switched to lung problems mostly. I ended up in the hospital more. I got a portacath because my arms couldn't take PICC lines anymore. And and then I made it to college. And by then I was already at 30% lung function. So if you can imagine, a normal person that doesn't have CF has like 100 or in upper 90s lung function, and I was already down to 30s, and I was 18 years old. So it was hard. And then in my sophomore year, they brought up the conversation of needing a double lung transplant, and that's when that all started. I didn't get evaluated until my senior year. A lot of tests. I was like, it wasn't a rush, so they did it over a few months. And there was a lot of tests, appointments, whatever. And they finally came to the conclusion I was too well, which I get it. I wasn't on oxygen, and I was still able to go to school and do stuff for myself. So they said, you're too well at the time to be listed, but we'll just keep an eye on you, and you have to come in every few months or 6 months just to keep up with testing and to see how it is. And during those appointments, they would always ask me like what my quality of life was and whatnot. And I would always say, it's fine. And then I was like, I don't need to see you every 3 months. So I pushed it to every 6 months. And so after college, I had a lot of health issues, like weird things pop up. I had like a blood clot. Actually, it was my extra semester at school, so I did 4 years and then one extra one because I got really sick one summer when I was trying to do summer sessions. I even moved in and had to move back out the next day because I had an appointment. They're like, nope, you need to be admitted to the hospital right away. So couldn't do summer sessions. The next few years I got more sick. I had more issues. At that point I was like, I don't know, I was just tired of living in Massachusetts. I lived near Boston. It was like an hour north where my parents still live, and I lived there till I was 26. And I decided I wanted to move. I wanted to move to Colorado ever since my first time visiting back in middle school. I love the mountains. I just wanted to be here. So here I am right now. But back to the story is I got really, really sick. Like a few months, or I started to get really sick a few months before I was going to move here. It was like 4 admissions in 4 months. And then one of the last times that I was admitted was my sister was visiting from New York, and I was going away party before I moved to Colorado. And didn't matter how many nebulizers I did for bronchodilators to open up my lungs. And even the oxygen I was on, it was like a pulse rate, stupid little thing that barely worked. And I could barely breathe. And I was like, Lima, we need to go. So she drove me at 3 in the morning to the emergency room in Boston. And then I was admitted for 3 weeks. I had to move my move date. And I still moved. But from then on, I was on oxygen. That's when it started. And it sucked. I didn't like having something on my face, around my ears. It was a pain in the ass. So I still moved. I moved on oxygen. My sister, she decided to help me drive out there because I was still recovering and sick. So we did road trip to Colorado with all my stuff. So once I moved here, my CF team from Boston, told me that I needed to get listed, find a transplant team immediately after moving. They said it was getting close to time to needing a transplant. I then contacted the University of Colorado here, their transplant team, and set up an appointment to meet them, to get started, to see, get an evaluation. So I had my appointment, they saw me, and they basically said, yeah, we'll do your transplant. And then the next day they call me and they're like, just kidding. Well, they didn't actually say that, but basically they were like, just kidding. We're not going to do yours. We just noticed that the bacteria your lungs are growing is very resistant to all antibiotics, which is basically for anyone at end stage lung disease that I was at. Everyone gets resistant to all the antibiotics because we're on it for so long. It's just repetitive and it's not effective. Anyways, they said the risk was too great and that the outcome post-transplant, if I was to get an infection, would have been bad, and they, didn't trust themselves to do it. So, you know what? I was really bummed because I was like, crap, what do I do now? But I'm thankful because I had learned after the fact that, they weren't the greatest, not a very good transplant center at the time because of the director. He now has retired, so now the transplant team and department here is much better. They're revamping it, basically, bringing new doctors, whatever. And anyways, back then, that wasn't the case. So I was glad that they said no, because I wouldn't have ended up where I was, or where I did go. My sister, so after I found out that they didn't want to do it, started researching, and we decided, oh, okay, there were a bunch of options, and then we narrowed it down because pros, cons, and yeah, we landed on the U of M in Minnesota, and we contacted them, and I had like a phone interview to go over stuff. We sent over medical records and all that stuff, and then we set up an evaluation, and yeah, and I made sure they knew what bacteria my lungs grew, so it wouldn't be a surprise once I got there. And they said, yeah, we can deal with that. So in April of 2016, my sister, she had actually left her life in New York, her job, everything, her friends, to move out here to help me because I was just getting so sick. I was already at 18, 19% lung function after that episode in Boston before I moved. And so we drove out. It was like a 14-hour drive to Minneapolis, and we got an Airbnb. It was a week-long schedule of appointments, tests, even classes just to learn about the do's and don'ts of transplant. And yeah, so after that week, we came back, and I think it took them like 2 weeks to get back to me, and they called me and they said yes. So yeah, I went to the U of M for my transplant. Well, I moved there that following September, so a few months after, because I was starting to get really sick even more, and spent 3 weeks in the hospital in Denver because I caught a cold and it turned into something really nasty. I was like coughing up stuff that looked like chocolate milk. It was brown. It was gross. And they were even worried that I wouldn't make it to transplant. So originally our plan was to live here and have basically do like a med flight. So if they called, we'd like find a flight or something like that. But then that ended up giving us so much anxiety, just knowing that we had to be on call at any moment and then making sure we got there in time. But also, if it was a dry run, if they had canceled at any time while I was there, because that's a very common thing to happen. So that was also a thing. We'd have to pay for the flight and have to do it all over again. So we just decided, you know what, we're just going to move there for the transplant and then come back once, everything was done. A week after my 3-week admission, we packed up what we could for what we would need for as long as we needed. Had no idea how long we'd be gone. We left. My sister had found, she did a lot of research of like where we're going to stay, where we're going to live over there, and it was kind of hard. She found it all. There were some resources, and there was one that was like a senior citizen home that they did have some sort of agreement or whatever deal with the hospital for, long-term patients that are there out of town for like transplant and other procedures like that. So we lived there on the 11th floor, 10th floor. I'm not quite sure. I don't remember. But yeah, it was a lot of old people on the elevators. It was good for what we needed. It was one bedroom, a living room, a kitchen, and a bathroom, which wasn't a lot of space, but you know, we didn't need that much at the time, and we were grateful to find a place so fast. And it was, you could pay by the week, up to the day, I think. So it was nice that we didn't have to pay for like a month to month or whatever it could have been. And there, during our, I think we were there 3 weeks. The social worker called us saying that they found something, that there was someone who, started a nonprofit to help people with CF, and they had this house that they, donated to the cause, to let, people who are staying there for transplant, not even just for transplant or just anything, basically, for long-term use for hospital stays. So, with one breath, amazing nonprofit, and we can't thank them enough for what they did. Once we saw the house, we were like, yes, 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 we love this. This is amazing. Like, we couldn't have asked for anything better. It was a 3-bedroom, living room, a downstairs den, a basement, a backyard, a drive, somewhere to park the car, a kitchen. We didn't have to be in an apartment or the senior citizen home where there's germs everywhere, and it was much easier this way and way more comfortable because we didn't know how long we were going to be there. So that was a blessing. Thank you. My first call came in October, Halloween. The call came. I was sleeping, and I had taken Ambien to help me sleep that night. So the phone rang, and I thought it was part of my dream. I didn't really pay attention, so I didn't pick up. They called again, thankfully, and I picked up that time. And it was a call for lungs. They said it was high risk, but I accepted anyways. And they asked me a bunch of other questions, see if I, had a temperature, this and that. And then they said when to arrive and not to eat. So I think we were there for a long time. I mean, once I got there, it was, a flurry of people in and out of the room. I had to go get x-rays and, labs and EKG and all this other stuff, just to make, get everything set for the surgery. I feel like we were there 24 hours. The OR time kept being pushed, so that was annoying. It was just very exhausting because we didn't really sleep because we were so excited. I wasn't really scared. I was more like nervous excited. They wheeled me downstairs. My sister French braided my hair so it wouldn't turn into a rat's nest while I was, in surgery and then right after. I remember being in the room and, very white, very cold, going from the gurney onto the table, positioning myself, and then they said to count down. I don't know if I actually do that, but I was out really quickly. And then I woke up. My throat was really sore and it was really dim. I was still very groggy from the anesthesia. I had no idea what day it was, what was going on. And I heard someone near me, and I don't know, I was able to ask if I got the lungs, and they said no. They had to cancel it last minute. And by last minute, I meant they had already put me to sleep and they had already intubated me. Thank God they did not cut me open. I think I've heard of stories that they got that far and then they would cancel it. Well, that was my dry run. And they kept me overnight because, I already have shitty lungs, and I was at, I think, 16% lung function at the time. They kept me overnight, and I was able to go home the next day. After that whole next week after, I started getting fevers, and I didn't feel very good. And then I went to the emergency room, and they admitted me. And I guess because of them intubating me and stirring stuff up, it caused an infection. And I was in the hospital for almost 3 months after that. So that was, after Halloween. It was in November. The first week in November I went in, and then I didn't get out till, I don't remember. Yeah, I think I got down to 14% lung function at that point when I was in the hospital. That was I think that was the longest time I was in the hospital. And then I got to go home, and as in our place in Minneapolis, or right outside. And then my second call came in April 1st, April Fool's Day. And it was, we were having a picnic in a park, and they called, and then we got there within a few hours. And after my second shower of, they give you this soap to clean everything to make sure you're super clean. No, it was before that. I did my first one, and then the second one, they stopped me. They came in, they're like, nope, it's canceled. So that was my second dry run. At least it wasn't as much of a mind as the first one. Being put to sleep, intubated, thinking you got it when you didn't. So yeah, it was a more pleasant dry run. And yeah, so that was April, and then, that was and then May came, and that was 8 months of being on the list. And then I got a third call. It was the 13th of May, and it was at night. They called me, and I ran downstairs as much as I could, attached to my oxygen, and got my sister's attention while I was on the phone so I could put it on speaker. And yeah, they found another pair of lungs for me, and we thought it would never happen again. It just, after you get a dry run, you're hoping it happens. You get another call within a week, and a month goes by, and you I don't know, it's just a long time waiting. And so we went to the hospital. We did not get too excited. We tried not to, because we knew dry runs are a real thing. And that was, the ORI time got pushed back again and again. Not as bad. And then it was Mother's Day. And then I was wheeled downstairs, said my goodbyes to my sister, and off I went back to that room, got put to sleep, and I didn't wake up till 7 hours later. Well, no, sorry, I didn't wake up 7 hours later. I was done. The surgery was done. They did it. It wasn't a dry run, it was the real thing. And yeah, those first few days were very fuzzy, but I do remember most everything when I woke up. So yeah, I got new lungs. So now that you know my story real quick, that was kind of long, sorry. I could have been a lot longer. I'm just going to go over, what I want this YouTube channel to be. Yeah, so it's basically going to be life after lungs, because now I have new lungs. And it's going to be all about, all the things I can do now. I love hiking, camping, working out, because I could never do those things very well or at all before transplant. I love to cook now when I like food. I'll have to get into that another episode, because my appetite is garbage and I hate food sometimes, but I love it and I hate it. Love-hate relationship. Love making pizza. I make pizza from scratch, from the sauce to the dough, and yeah, it's a thing. I also love doing arts and crafts and plants. I am a crazy plant lady. I am the crazy plant lady. Outdoor plants, indoor plants. My brother says they're like a disease. He says, I notice them. He's like, they spread around. He's like, don't think I don't see them. So I have to contain myself when I go to stores. But most of the plants I own are all given to me, so I'm not going to complain. This channel will also be educational. I'm definitely going to be going over cystic fibrosis stuff, organ donation, transplant. I have a G-tube. It's a feeding tube. It's in my stomach. I got it in high school because I couldn't gain weight. I wasn't gaining enough weight, and it's been a lifesaver. I love it, but I hate it. I want it out, but I'm so thankful I have it, because I still, even post-transplant, have trouble gaining weight, maintaining weight. A lot of people gain a lot of weight and try to lose weight, so I'm just the opposite. Some other stuff that I'll be going over, I have chronic sinusitis. I get sinus surgery, so I'll be talking about that sometimes. A lot of my pills, I'll be doing pill fill-ups, and then my super weight gain shakes that I make every day. I hate that I have to drink them, but you know, I just got to do what I got to do to try and gain weight. My other goals post transplant are now to, you know, hike as much as I can, hike 14ers. I've done 2 so far, and also to hike in every national park that I'm able to. Um, but yeah, just a lot of adventure. I love going outside and doing stuff, trying new things. I got into disc golf this spring and summer. Golfing, um, learned how to snowboard this winter, learned how to ski last winter. Uh, I'm just always open to trying new things. I definitely want to skydive. I wanted to skydive for my third lung anniversary this year, but because of Corona, didn't happen. Maybe next year. Something awesome for my fourth. So, yeah, if you guys have any ideas, post them in the comments. You know, whatever you think would be an amazing celebration activity. And finally, I just want to say I'm new to all this and try to get out, you know, a video a week or two, seeing as I'm like teaching myself how to edit this. And my brother is letting me use all this fancy, recording equipment and lights and whatever. So, yeah, it might take me a bit to get into a groove, but I'm here for it and I'm here to start this. And I hope you guys want to keep watching and, you know, join my journey, Life After Lungs. But yeah, this is my long story short. Thanks for watching, and like and subscribe to my channel. Thanks, guys.